and we have come out to a farm in the evening. I cycled here, as you will have seen in the intro, and today we've come mainly to get a time lapse of the sun down. Now behind me, I'm not sure if you can see, there's a lot of clouds, and I have my Canon 250D and my Canon 24mm 2.8 lens. They are simply taking a video clip of the sky and the trees on the horizon. That will hopefully make an awesome time lapse, which I will show you at the end of the video. Now the main reason I've come out this evening is because for the rest of the day it's been raining, and so this is the first opportunity I've had to get out and take photos. Secondly, you get a beautiful glow in the evening. It's kind of golden hour time, except the sun isn't out. We can see it hiding behind the clouds, as I mentioned. Now I'm just going to say something quickly, and that's that, as I mentioned before, I did cycle here to get to this farm. Well, now I am just going to give one caution when it comes to cycling, and that is be careful. I don't normally cycle with camera equipment because if you fall off, you're not only risking your own health, but you're also potentially damaging equipment. So be very careful if you're ever cycling with camera equipment. Like I said, the equipment I've got is the Canon 250D and the 24mm 2.8 lens, and then in my backpack I also brought with me my Canon 7D Mark II and Sigma 150 to 600mm lens. This will allow me to take photos of wildlife while that camera is taking the video of the sky. Now there's not that much wildlife here, there's a few birds flying around, but maybe as it gets darker we'll see some more interesting wildlife. There are a few crows pecking around on the farm, but there's really not much. I've brought this camera as a backup just in case we see any wildlife. The main thing we're doing today is getting the time lapse of the sky. And there is a slight bit of rain, so I've put my Canon 7D and Sigma 150mm away. I'm going to keep this one recording because it's not heavy rain, so it should be fine. It's just a spit. But I did get some photos. I got some photos of a flock of jackdaws, and I also took a photo of a telegraph pole in the background. I'm not sure if you can see it. And for these photos, I had to use a low shutter speed because you've got to let in as much light as possible. I was using a shutter speed somewhere between 160 to 200. That was where I was aiming, and my ISO was up in the kind of 1000 region, so it wasn't awful and the photos shouldn't have too much noise, but they're the settings which I was approximately using, and I was using the lowest aperture I could for all of the photos. Now, as you can see, the clouds behind me have definitely moved since I last did a bit of vlogging. This kind of huge section here used to be behind these trees, so it's moving across, and this camera is videoing the whole thing. So at the end of the video, I will show you the time lapse of the clouds swooping across. It's looking really dramatic on the back of the camera here, because for the videoing of this, I've got the shutter speed on 50 because I'm shooting at 25 frames per second to make it not take up too much memory space. I have an aperture of 9 to make sure it's nice and dark, and an ISO of 100, so the ISO is not adding any light and the aperture is relatively high, meaning it is going to be quite a dark, moody scene. And we just saw a sparrowhawk. It was hovering up in the sky behind me. Now, the quality of the photos are not great. They're just documenting the fact that I saw the sparrowhawk. I had to run and grab the camera. I was in the middle of trying to film the sunset. I'm not sure if you can see, there's a tiny bit of orange peeking out from that corner, which I don't think the camera down here is going to catch. So I was trying to film that, had to throw the camera down, grab my main camera setup for wildlife, and I was using it to take photos. The sparrowhawk is simply flying in the sky. It's not doing anything fancy, and I hope the photos will look good when I review them at home. But it's the fact we saw a sparrowhawk. Now, although I've been doing wildlife photography now for 5, coming up almost 6 years, I've only seen a handful of sparrowhawks, and so seeing it is just as cool as getting a photo at this stage. Now, one day I am going to see a sparrowhawk and get a cool photo, don't you worry, that is on my to-do list. But just seeing it for today and getting those basic photos was good fun. Now, when it comes to evening wildlife photography, you get a different caliber of wildlife altogether. You generally, and this is a bit of a weird one, you get lots of flying birds in flocks. Now, I've seen obviously the jackdaws that I photographed. I also saw some geese, and this is quite common in the evenings as these birds are flying back to roost. Now, they've been out by the lakes, by the rivers, by wherever they want to feed during the day, and you'll often find them heading back to their roosts in the evening. And so if you want flying birds, it's quite a good time to come out, even though you wouldn't think it would be. Now, I was hoping that I'd get some flying birds across the sunset. That would look pretty cool, but we're yet to see that. But if birds fly across the sunset, I will definitely try and get a photo. Now, the camera screen is looking very moody as the sky is setting. You probably can see there's kind of an orange glow behind the trees. I'm very excited to show you that time lapse. For now, I'm just going to watch it for a little bit longer and let that sunset totally disappear before I cycle back. And the rain is really picking up, so the cameras are now away, but the sky has been time-lapsed. As you can see, these heavy rain clouds are rolling in, and they are the reason it is raining, and you can see them roll in on this awesome time-lapse. But before you go, please like and subscribe. I hope you enjoyed today's video. I did drop a few tips. It's been a bit random, but we had fun, and here is the epic sky time-lapse.